Big Sills! Big Sills strikes again. Good afternoon, Dan Sileo, National Football Show. How you doing? Gee. 5 days ago, Dan Sileo reported that the Philadelphia Eagles officially had reached out to Ndamukong Suh to start negotiations. Today, Howie makes it happen, pushes the chips in, and you have Ndamukong Suh. You have now addressed in the middle of the season. I don't care if Suh's 70%. 70% with fresh legs, that's a pretty damn good sign, and I do believe Ndamukong Suh has something left in the tank. How you doing? Absolutely. Suh has probably been the second best defensive tackle. If you had to put the three tackles over the last decade in order, Donald, Suh, and Fletcher. Those three guys were your best defensive tackles. And it wasn't really close for fourth. They were the dominant guys over the last decade. Ndamukong Suh, Fletcher Cox, and Aaron Donald. Howie Roseman is doing one thing for sure. They believe they can win the Super Bowl this year. Here, let's do this too. Whether or not the Robert Quinn or Suh or the kid from the Chargers works out, he believes right now in his possession that roster they have is good enough to win a Super Bowl. Give it to him. Give it to Howie Roseman. They're pushing their chips in. John brings up a great point. Now maybe not only Robert Quinn shining, but now maybe also Hassan Reddick being more consistent. We've been touting Ndamukong Suh for over a week. And like I said, if you go to my Twitter page, just so you know, again, it's not something that we're just bringing up for content here. I said 5 days ago, the Eagles had contacted Suh, and they were in the works of trying to work a deal out. Can I tell you who they outbid? We happen to know who they outbid. We'll get that to you here in a minute. Maniac, what up, man? So now what you can do, now you have a rotation. And then if I was Jordan Davis, I'm going to be in a room with Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Ndamukong Suh, and Tracy Rocker. I don't know about you. You couldn't have a better classroom. You're getting your master's degree now. You were coached at Georgia. You won a national title. Now you're in the midst of a race to win the NFC East. And you've got those guys sitting next to you. Congratulations. You not only improved your run defense, but you also have brought a professional in the room for Jordan Davis to learn from. Milton Williams, too. Tyler, thank you for coming aboard. You're going to be able to learn how to do the most important thing that a defensive lineman can do. You know what that is? Find a routine. Learn how to be a pro. Okay? Remember something. A pro is who you are. Professional is what you do. And when you have guys like that sitting around you in a team meeting room, in a position room, you can't help but to gravitate to that and to learn from that. Damn good sign. You don't lose on this deal if you're the Eagles. And the one thing probably that Suh is not where he was 5 years ago is pass rushing. but I guarantee you the one thing that Ndamukong Suh has been brought in, and he's been told this, look, you're probably going to get 25 to 30 reps a game. We want you to go in here, and we absolutely want you to focus on stopping the run. Tyler Sills was right again. Give the man his respect. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Fresh legs. Absolutely, John. This is a tremendous, tremendous opportunity. And you bring a guy in with what? One of the nastiest reputations for a defensive tackle in the last 10 years. This guy plays the game with rage. This guy plays the game with a lot of passion. He's been suspended, fined. Dude, you want that in your D-line, especially at the D-tackle position. John, I would say this: you're clearly not going to get Detroit Ndamukong Suh, and you're most likely not going to get the Rams Ndamukong Suh. You're probably going to get more the Bucks. Okay? I'm going to tell you here in a second who they outbid. Jack, that's right. Man, I am so thrilled for Jordan Davis to be sitting in a room with Fletcher Cox and Ndamukong Suh. Jesus. Let alone the fact that he's going to come in and he's going to contribute to stopping the run. Let me say something else to you. You know, when I got to the Cowboys, and I had Randy White here, and I had Ed Too Tall Jones sitting next to me, and those guys were talking about how to play defense, I'm sitting there listening to these guys, and I'm going, holy shit, I don't know anything about technique. The things you think you know, until you see and hear guys who played 17, 18 years, man, I'll tell you what, you just throw the book out. You're like, shit, man. Holy cow. That is such an easier way to play that technique. And when you're Jordan Davis and you're sitting in the middle of that, this is a no-lose scenario for the Eagles. Even if the guy is 70%. Can't lose. Because the education that Jordan's going to get. Sue's going to tell him, lay off the Twinkies, guy. You could be a star here. A mentor is what Sue's also going to be with Fletcher Cox. Can you imagine those two guys just chalking it up, talking in there with Tracy? Tracy's an Outland and Lombardi winner. The only reason Tracy didn't have the defensive line coach for the Eagles, the only reason that Tracy didn't have a long NFL career, because he got hurt in Washington. He played with me in the World League. I love Tracy Rocker. I'm going to tell you who they outbid, too, by the way, for Sue's services. You could probably guess which one was one of them. What size is Suh? I think he's 6'5", 315, 325. Might be a little more now. Dude, you've got the biggest defensive tackles I've ever seen. Okay? Ever seen. 6'6", Jordan Davis. 6'4", Fletcher Cox. 6'5", Ndamukong Suh. All dudes over 330, 325. Suh's overrated. Right. Okay, guy. You know, usually people who talk like that don't have legacies. People who talk like that Suh's overrated, don't have legacies. So don't mind them. Like I said, Ndamukong Suh is not a Ndamukong Suh Detroit. But you don't need that. Because he's not going to give you that guy. Is it a Super Bowl move? I don't know if it's a Super Bowl move. But you know what I do know? It's a winning move. Suh is a violent football player. He plays with meaning. He plays with tenacity. Personally, I like Ndamukong Suh more than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald gets the shit kicked out of him on the run. That guy doesn't. That guy doesn't. Gets the shit kicked out of him. Super Bowl or bust, Marco? That's kind of where we are now. Here are the teams that the Eagles outbid Ndamukong Suh for. Facts. The Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have $7 million under the salary cap. It was more than what I thought they had. The Cowboys had to make a decision. Are we going to make a run at Odell Beckham? Because Beckham wants a multi-year deal. Suh doesn't. Suh doesn't. The Cowboys made the decision. They just signed a wide receiver, I think either today or yesterday. They still want OBJ. I don't think they're getting him. I think the Buccaneers are getting him. Haven't talked to Jason Light. I think the Bucs, staying under the radar as they always do, will be the surprise team to sign him. Now, going back to New York with Daniel Jones, why? He's not going to go unless it's Miami. I think it's Miami and Tampa for him. The Cowboys had to make a decision. They can't have both. So, Howie is all in. You know, I had a topic here to go along with Howie. And by the way, I think it kind of goes along because it'll continue our conversation here. I'll get to the topics here in a minute. But I'll say this to you. The owner, Jeffrey Lurie, must have just said, go get him. Because this has got nothing to do with draft choices. This is all to do with cash. Go get Robert Quinn. Go get Ndamukong Suh. The owner had to go like this. Go get him. I think we are close. Jeffrey Lurie had to do this. Do I want to spend that money? I've got to start saving my nickels and dimes for Hurts's contract. What do I do here? It's a one-year deal. Don't worry about it. Plus, it's prorated. Odell Beckham is not a cancer. He's a great teammate. That's a lie. He played with suck-ass quarterbacks. Give me a break. Who? Baker, nobody? He was great with Stafford in the Rams. It's an absolute lie about Beckham. He's not a cancer. He's a social media diva, yes. But bad teammate, I've never heard that, only from media people. Ever. So the Cowboys got outbid by Howie. Howie told them, and I'm paraphrasing conversation here. Hey, we're not asking you to come in here and be all pro. We're asking you to come in here and give us a hand and stop in the run. We got a young player that we truly believe in, and we're going to bring you in here, and we're going to make a stretch run here to try to get another Super Bowl. We'd like you to come for the ride for us. And Suh looked around and said, Dallas? Buffalo? Buffalo needs to do a little better job stopping the run. Miami? The Dolphins and Chris Greer didn't want to go down that road again. He lands in Philly. So there was a negotiation, conversation in his people. And by the way, this is going to be great for Suh. He plays half the year at a prorated salary. And he goes in there And get this, there's no pressure on him. By the way, I think he probably ends up taking Fletcher Cox's job. It won't be long. But your rotation now in the D-line. You get Davis back in a few weeks. Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Ndamukong Suh, Milton Williams, the new kid from the Chargers. I feel pretty good about that. If I'm Tracy Rocker, I've now officially fixed, in my opinion, the triangle. 2D tackles and your linebackers. Your secondary is second in the league in pass defense. You're 20th in rush defense. Shit, I would say this to you too, that Jonathan Gannon is not even looking to get into the top 10 when it comes to run defense. He just wants to get in the top 12. You get in the top 12 in run defense and you're second in pass defense, you're going to be a top 10 defense. Probably land him a job as a head coach somewhere next year. Benson goes, how old is Fletcher? It's not so much the age here now with Suh. Suh's had half the year off. Okay? He's not a quarterback. He's not a wideout. There's no timing here. He's just got to be in reasonable shape. He's got to get into football shape too, obviously. Josh Sweat, more of an end, though. This is going to help your edge rushers. I believe of the signs that he made between Robert Quinn, who I think will benefit from this, you're going to see a much improved pass rush. Because why? You're going to win first and second down. The Eagles have lost first and second down, just like a year ago. This addresses it. And I want to say this one more time about Howie Roseman here. Man, if I'm in that locker room right now and I am a Philadelphia Eagle, I'm telling you this right now. For me, I'm looking over at my stallmate sitting next to me going, and Aunt Betty, excuse me here. This motherfucker's in this thing. We're going to go win this thing. It's an energy. It's an energy. It juices up the locker room where maybe that loss knocked you off your pedestal a little bit. Now you do this. Dude, the owners, the GM, the personnel department, the coaches are all doing this. Hey, man, we believe in... Dude, you know, when you don't believe in people, you don't do shit. You just give them good spins and good talk and talk shit to them. When you do moves like this, you really don't have to say anything. Does Nick Sirianni have to say anything into a team meeting room when you sign players like this? Or you make a sign to go get Robert Quinn? Do you really have to tell me? No, I'm going to know that because your actions speak louder than your words. This ain't patting you on the back going, hey, man, I hope you go out and really do a great job against the Colts. Howie Roseman is no question sees the finish line here. He sees it. There's one thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to make this a proclamation to you and a promise to you. Whether they win the Super Bowl or not, Howie Roseman did his job. Howie Roseman in 2022 has done his job to the best of his ability. And I'm going to tell you one thing. That whole Chip Kelly experience on putting him in the broom closet and making him get people coffee has made him a better general manager, and it is shining now. It is shining now. Look, you won't believe the topic that I had that contradicts what I'm saying right now. I'm going to bring it up to you, And you're going to go, Sills, you just said, I know. This guy's inspired me. This guy's inspired me. This guy's got onions right now. Let's go get it. Suh ain't cheap, folks. Suh ain't cheap. I don't have the particulars on the numbers yet. But he wasn't cheap. He had a market like Beckham has a market. Charles says, Sills, I'm so hyped. Hyped? Dude, your guys are all in. They're in. The Philadelphia Eagles are making a run at it. That Washington loss, don't worry about it. You're the best team in the NFC. Act like it. And you are. You're acting like the best team in the NFC. That loss didn't scare them. Shit, maybe we should pull back, reevaluate what we're doing. They got more aggressive. Perfect. Inspiring. Tremendous. There's not an accolade I could throw at this thing. Unbelievable. Even if it fails, it can't fail. Suh in the room, talking to your young Turk. Hey, dude, it's one thing for Tracy. Tracy's a former player, and I've got massive respect for Tracy Rocker. It's another thing to have Pro Bowlers and potential Hall of Famers sitting next to you and teaching you what the right way about approaching being a professional is. Professional is what you are. Being a pro is what you do. Unbelievable. Your general manager's all in. He's all in. Absolutely spectacular. I'm sitting here patting myself on the back. Still had to outbid him. Just like the teams now that are, there's a gigantic market for Odell Beckham Jr. I can't believe it. There's more of a market now for Beckham than probably when he went to Cleveland. There was a market for Suh. There's a big market for Suh. Nick goes, he's worried about tight end. Hang in there. We're going to hit on that. We're going to hit on all this. Ron says Suh got a little more than veterans minimum of $600K, probably like $1 million plus incentives. He's a 10-year guy. So automatically it's somewhere around 1.4 or 1.3, I think it is. But you're prorating that with half the season. Seals, who do you think they outbid? Jesse must be coming into the program. The Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys they outbid. The Cowboys more had to make a decision on if they're going to go after Odell. Beckham wants a multi-year deal. This is not a multi-year deal here for Ndamukong Suh. Super Bowl or bust. Look at Jack. Act like a champion. These are championship moves. You cannot do this to Howie Roseman. Howie sucked. He was a terrible GM this year. Made all the wrong moves. No, he didn't. His job's not to coach these guys. He can't go out there and put player production up. Players have to go out and do it now. Howie's put all these pieces on the chessboard. He's got all the chess pieces now. How many teams don't have rooks and knights? The Eagles have all of them. Again, your tight end injured. That's a factor. I agree. But all the chess pieces, Sirianni now has to, with his staff and help of management, put these guys in the position to be successful this year. That should be the motto going forward. All in. All in. The Philadelphia Eagles are badasses. They are badasses right now. They don't give a shit about nothing but winning this thing. They are badasses. This is badass. I'm hoping I'm coming through to you and clear to you that when you're a player in a locker room and you have your coaches patting you on the back telling you you're doing a good job and you're doing all this bullshit, coach talk. When you see people bringing guys in, and by the way, this is no threat to anybody. You're bringing a guy like that in for help. No egos. Take a Greg Popovich line and put it above the NovaCare Center. If you got an ego, put that son of a bee over in the corner over there, because this is about winning a Super Bowl. You know what's funny too? Guys, help me out. What was the year for the Philadelphia Eagle All-Star team? By the way, I thought that was the biggest joke when you guys signed on the Asamoah. That guy didn't want to hit. That guy was made of paper. He got to Philly. He robbed you. You talk about people stealing money. Nnamdi Asamoah was the biggest thief maybe in Eagle history. 2010, you brought all them stiffs in, right? Look at who you brought in here. You brought in a guy who's been suspended numerous times for kicking the shit out of people and playing as dirty as you possibly can and probably being one of the top 3 DTs in the last decade. I don't know. I'm pretty good with that. Sills, he's not 100. He's not a Ndamukong Suh from 4 years ago. I don't need him to be. I don't need him to come in and play like that. Shit, if he gets no sacks, I don't care. You stop that run, it was worth the investment. Mark goes, hey, Sills, do you believe this signing will elevate the Eagles to division champs? Mark, act like the champs you are now. Act like it. Act like it. There's nobody in the East better than you. Act like it. Don't ask suspect questions. Act like it. Act like it. Does this make us division champs? Come take the title. We're the king. I dare you. Sills, do you think Fletcher wakes up now? Give me 13, 14, 18 plays from Fletcher. I think Fletcher can give you all he can give you. And I think with the rotation, when Jordan gets back, I think that's going to be good enough to stop the run. I think you guys will probably drop yards per carry, probably down 2 yards per carry less. I think this will do that. That's all you need. Get it under 4. Get it around 3.7. 3.7, you can live with that. Now, look, this is not going to make you 2-9 and one of those elite defenses from the past, like the 85 Bears or the Ravens or the Bucks. But what this is going to do, it's going to lower that number to make it manageable. And guys, don't talk about NFC East. Talk about championship. Strive for the title. Strive for being perfect on the way out to the playoffs. Try not to drop another game. Try not to drop another game. Well, maybe if you lose one, it'll be better. Shut the man, I hate that mentality. Maybe if you lose a game, be the best thing. Dude, you're playing for a Super Bowl. If you're undefeated or 1 loss or 2 losses, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Craig asked a great question. How long before Suh will be in there? 1 week, 2 weeks, or this weekend? You know, if I were the Philadelphia Eagles, I'd play him this weekend. Not a lot, but I get him acclimated to getting back in the game. The quicker he gets game reps, the quicker he'll get back up to speed again. Make it simple. Base defenses. Let him go out there and start hitting again. You know what else that I would do? I would probably have some live contact for him in practice. Have a couple live contact practices centered around the two new guys that you signed. The kid from the Chargers played a year ago, and Suh, get him acclimated. Get him reps. Let them see game tempo again. See, that's the deal, in my opinion. That's going to be the biggest thing for these guys to get themselves ready to play. His game tempo. Suh's been out the entire year. The game tempo, he's a pro, though. He knows it. Get him on the field as quick as you can. Sitting around going like this, we'll wait for week 1, 2, or 3. Don't do that. Get him in there, man. Base defenses. Play him. Play Suh in base. Okay? First and second. Get him in there on first and second down. If you have to take him out on third, so be it. Put Milton in there. Seals, do you think that they told Gannon he needs to step his game up, or do you think they're doing the... Matt, when they make a move like this, they're comfortable. Jonathan Gannon probably went to Nick Sirianni and said, we need some help. Guys we have right now aren't getting the job done. So the last 2 days, they signed 2 DTs. And so you know what Howie did? Okay. Imagine that. You now have something you didn't have with Doug Peterson. You know what that is? You got a front office and a coaching staff working cohesively. What do you need? 2 DTs. Here they are. Beautiful. Beautiful. Fantastic. Least amount of resistance gives you the best formula for success. Do you know how many happy faces are right now at the NovaCare Center today? That whole 53-man roster plus the practice squad is elated. They're elated. Elated. Eagles got to stay in a 50 front on first down. Even if it's predictable. Sure. Because I believe in the secondary. Understood. This move should allow us to go to a 43. That's what I'm thinking. Look, Dean's not ready to play. Guys, I know you want him in there. He's not ready, from what I'm being told. He's not ready. So some of you that have now come in, I reported this 5 days ago because I had heard through a source that the Eagles had contacted Suh. By the way, it wasn't a source inside the Eagles. It was another football team. Hey, the Eagles are sniffing at Ndamukong Suh. They made a bid for him. Who are the other teams? And they told me, I know Buffalo and Dallas are also in the bidding game. Look at Dallas's run defense. You don't think they could have benefited from this guy? Dallas's run. Hey, we're talking about a football team that's 8-1. Okay? A football team that's 8-1. Wanting to fix their run defense. The Cowboys are atrocious. I mean, you're giving up 130 yards, which is not great. 145, 180, right? 62, not great. Dallas is giving up 200 yards a game. They got 8. You have a leak. Dallas has a flood. Dallas can't fix that. They can't fix it. It's a flood. It's like the Hoover Dam broke. You got a leak. And you're trying to patch it up here with Ndamukong Suh and the kid from the Chargers. That's what you're doing. You don't have that gaping hole in the Hoover Dam like Cowboys do. I mean, They've got flash flood warnings going up there in Dallas. You don't have that. Better to address it now before it gets to what Dallas has. I can't fix it in Dallas. You guys are addressing it. If you drop that a yard and a half, 2 yards less per game, you're going to win the Super Bowl. You're going to win the Super Bowl. You don't hear me talking like this. In almost 2 years since you've never heard, I never talk like this. Do I? Have you ever heard me say this? I am exceptionally impressed. Nation in tears right now. Man. Guys, you have one hell of a franchise. Kudos. You have one whale of a franchise. This guy may not be. Wait till you see the shitty topic I had about Howie. Wait till you see what I'm going to say here in a couple minutes. And I'm going to go like this. I don't even know if I believe this anymore. Sills, give me the honest guy, no BS opinion on Suh and Joseph. I think they're good enough to stop the bleeding. Are they going to be good enough to turn you into the best run defense in the NFL? Don't go there because you'll be disappointed. However, I think they're good enough. And once, get this, you're going to basically be signing another free agent coming up here. That's what it's going to feel like when Jordan Davis comes back. Holy shit, we get the big fella back too? You're gonna feel like you signed 3 guys in about 3 weeks. Everybody will be kind of up to speed. Double teams. There ain't enough room in the middle to double team these guys. Look at what you got in there. When you put a Ndamukong Suh, can you imagine putting this on a 50 front? Put Fletcher over the nose. It'd be easier for him. Suh on the guard. Davis on the other guard. You got the biggest human beings in the NFL playing defensive. I have never in my entire time playing in the game, covering the game, seen more size. You got 1,000 pounds and 3 dudes playing your D tackle position, nose guard now. You got 1,000 pounds. Dude, they may make some plays on you plus 25 now, but the one thing they won't do on you, nobody's going to beat you up at the line of scrimmage anymore. And by the way, you know what I love about the signing of Suh too? He's going to fight you for it. You may knock him off the ball, but you may get a right hand in the face. That's the kind of attitude you want. Within reason. Jonathan Gannon has I think you still, by the way, just to make sure that this isn't all rose petals. I hate your defensive coordinator. Because you know what he's saying? I can't come up with a big enough scheme to stop the bleeding. Can you help me? Who wants that kind of guy as your DC? Can you imagine Jim Johnson or Buddy or Bud Carson or any of them dudes going into a coach's office and freaking going, I can't do anything with the guys I have. Can you help me? That's pathetic. I can't come up with anything to stop this. I need guys. Because if that was the case, they would have addressed it in the offseason. Jonathan Gannon blows. If you do not win the Super Bowl, Jonathan Gannon, part 2, will be the reason you don't win it. And for the national people to consistently go on the air and lie about Jonathan Gannon and say that that guy's a good general manager, they don't watch Eagle football. You can always tell. Even Aikman, Romo, they come up with these exotics, and you're like, I have no idea what Troy Aikman or Tony Romo are talking about. I have no idea what they're talking about. None. Every time I hear this exotic scheme shit, I go, what? Sports. Jonathan Gannon, he is trash. Hey, guess what, guys? I can't do anything about stopping the run. Can you help me? So what does Howie do? Howie goes out and gets him 2 DTs. If that guy does not stop the run, I want him fired. Fired immediately. Fired. You are not qualified to be the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not even qualified to coach a high school football team. You have no excuses. I want to say this to you guys. You guys have a hell of an organization. Unbelievable. Howie's in. Dude, bought in on Jet. You could stop the presses on Jalen. That conversation about whether it's going to be how much now. They're not moving off of Hurts. That conversation's over with. Over with. Okay? It's over. Now the question is going to be how much do you want to affect the rest of the roster? That's the conversation moving forward. It's no longer if Hurts is the guy. It's how much is the guy worth. Okay? That conversation's history. You don't build a team like this, continue to put these pieces like this, if you question the number one position on your football team. The reason you make moves like this is because you got Jalen Hurts and his salary right now. And they're going to do everything in their power to help him win it. To me, the owner, you have the owner, your GM, the 2 most important people when it comes to moves like this. The coach can walk. Hey, you know what a coach is? A coach is like fans. Let me tell you why. You and I can walk by a Ferrari shop and go, shit, man, look at that Dino. Man, that thing right there. Look at that old school Daytona they got in there. Holy cow, look at it. I love Ferraris. Only car I've never owned. Look at that Ferrari, man. Holy cow, look at that. That thing is beautiful, man. Look at that baby. God, I love that car. And, at the end of the day, you kick the tires on it, you look at it, then you buy an Acura Legend. That's what a coach is right now. I got to settle for what I got and who I am. It's always good to fantasize. But then when you have a general manager and an owner that goes, what do you need? You want to buy it? Buy it. But make sure you win with it. Because I'm going to hold your ass accountable too. You want the Ferrari? I'll get you the Ferrari. But you better win in it. Or you're going to be back to the Acura. Yes, sir. Do you know how fun it is to go to work when you got bosses that are willing to step over and do whatever it takes for your personnel? Do you know how cool that is? Do you know how rare that is? To go to work every day and enjoy going to work, and you can't wait to get up and do your job. Most of us don't have that luxury. And most of us have had it once or twice in our lives. The Eagles are making it so that a sign like that affects every other guy. You don't think the DBs are doing this now? Holy shit. Holy shit. I think it's spectacular. And by the way, I'll bring up the topic here. I want to get through the first hour here with this because this is big. And by the way, it's going to dominate the conversation here because everyone's looking around the NFL now going like this. Eagles ain't playing. The Philadelphia Eagles are not playing right now, and they're doing everything they can to win. Hurts will be even better next year. Daniel, it will be. Never know what Howie's going to do. I'll tell you what, he outbid the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys. OBJ, you don't need OBJ. You signed Ndamukong Suh. That was more of a pressing need. That's more of a pressing need. Incredible. Incredible. D-Gun. Thank you, D-Gun. D-Gun. He's got to be thrilled. Barrett's got to be thrilled. Everybody's got to be thrilled. Dude, you don't understand the text messages I'm getting from people around the league. I got a text message. I'll share something with you here. Okay? I'll share something with you. Tom Telesco just asked me, the general manager, I'll phrase it in a way where it won't get me in trouble with my sources. Tom Telesco just said, what's going on in Philly? And I just texted him back and I said, they're going for it. Probably another team that wanted Ndamukong Suh. So now we know this. Chargers, Bills, Cowboys made a play for him, and the Eagles. That's a market, my friends. That's 4 teams that I know of. There's probably 10 more. They're not only stockpiling the D-line, they're stockpiling the defensive tackles. You now have the ability to go 34-43, and maybe you do get Dean on the field now. With the size that you have at the defensive tackle position, you may be able to get his ass on the field. He had enormous size defensive tackles at Georgia. You might be able to get him on the field now. You just might. I think he's undersized. And I think the struggles that they had putting Kobe Dean on the field were the fact that the DTs were getting blown off the ball and getting blown back into the backers. That's why I think they struggled on whether or not to put him in there. Because the last 5 weeks, they've been getting knocked off the ball. You can't have a guy like that get knocked, having 350-pound guys getting knocked into a little guy like that. Remember I said this because I went on, I don't know, Xander, maybe you remember it. I went on with Sports Take guys. And I said, maybe you go to a 34.